9 Years of Shadows is a game that I honestly could not tell you how I discovered. If I had to guess, I found it one day doing Steam's Discovery Queue. Nonetheless, it's a game that I've played through, beaten, and now it's time to talk about it. Welcome back to Backlog Worthy, a series where I talk about all the games I have beaten, good or bad. Let's talk about 9 Years of Shadows. There are a handful of different mechanics you'll end up using in 9 Years of Shadows. The first one is a healing mechanic, and one I haven't seen in a game before. Once your health reaches a critical level, the game has a quick time event on your health bar. Land the marker in the allotted margins, and you gain a decent amount of your health back. I really enjoy this mechanic a lot as it lets the game have another chance to keep you on your toes. The armor switching mechanic was something that I both did and did not care for throughout the game. The mechanic is really only useful while traversing through the areas, fighting enemies with the same outer glow as your armor. Past that, there's really no reason for this. It really feels as if you're going through options a few times per area just to do a bit more damage to some of the enemies. The gameplay and combat are, unfortunately, the weakest parts of this game. Enemies go down easy if the armor correlates to their weakness. It doesn't seem like this affects the bosses, however. Those battles are more trial and error that's dedicated to the memorization of attack patterns to get another hit in. This is something that I do and don't like as well. I like the boss battles being beaten with your own understanding of the patterns, but also makes a big mechanic like the armor switching worthless unless you're walking around the main world. That's about as much gameplay as you're going to be getting through your playthrough, so I hope that combat itself is not what you need in the game. 9 Years of Shadows follows the emotional story of Europa, a warrior training to bring back the color that's been missing from her world for the past 9 years. You're not alone in this adventure though. Europa is joined by a cuddly teddy bear named Apino. The stuffed animal is not the only thing you will encounter on your adventure though. The monsters found in this game all have nice designs, but that's kinda where it ends. A good chunk of the enemies are the same, some being even just reskins of another enemy. On a good note though, the enemies do help make the world within Talos seem alive. No area is really barren or void of life, and the monsters and environmental hazards make Talos a living, breathing location. There's only really two main characters to talk about in 9 Years of Shadows. Europa is the main character who you play as during your time in the game. She feels as if she's the only person able to break the curse, despite all of her self-doubt. Apino shows up and heals Europa after she's beaten by an enemy. He is a little source of healing and projectiles when the time calls for it. I'm a big sucker for pixel art. Luckily for me, this game is phenomenal with it. The art was one of the selling points in getting me to play it. Just take a look at it. It seems almost reminiscent of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, but takes that art and creates its own thing from it. The music in this game is probably the most interesting thing to me. The game features composers from both Castlevania and Metal Gear Solid, which is really cool to see and hear. The music is tuned to a nice 432 Hz, and this is to promote healing within the body. I can't prove it, but I will take their word on it for now. I really wanted to give this game a 10 out of 10. I really did enjoy my time playing 9 Years of Shadows. Unfortunately, the music and art style are the strongest thing going for this game, and honestly, probably some of the only things going for it. Combat being the weakest part of this game meant I had to make my way through mediocrity in order to reach something better. 9 Years of Shadows gets a 7 out of 10 for me. If they are able to make the combat more interesting or have more characters to interact with, that might be enough to sway the score.